This is the 10th video in this LeetCode and C# series, and the challenge we're doing is called regular expression matching. So given an input string s and a pattern p, implement regular expression matching with support for dot and asterisk, where dot matches any single character and asterisk matches 0 or more of the preceding element. So the matching should cover the entire input string and not partial. So if you have an input of s and a pattern of just a, the output would be false because for it to be true, there would have to be just a single A in the string. Well, if the pattern is A asterisk, the pattern is looking for 0 or more A's, and as its string is 2 A's, it will return true. And then here, if the pattern is dot asterisk, this basically just says the string can contain anything. So the string will be a length between 1 and 20, and the pattern will be between 1 and 30. The string will only be lowercase English letters, and the pattern contains only lowercase English letters and the dot and asterisk. It is guaranteed for each appearance of the character asterisk, there'll be a previous valid character to match. Okay, so to do this, we will need to loop over the pattern to see what characters it is we're looking for, and then based on the character in the pattern, we need to look at if a certain position in the string matches that. So we need to keep record of whereabouts in the string we are. We also need to do a look ahead on the pattern to see if there's an asterisk. So I guess we can do int s location equals 0, so we're going to start at the very beginning of the string, and we can do, I guess we could do a for loop over the pattern. So int I equals 0, I is less than p dot length, and I plus plus. So what we'll do is get the current pattern, which will equal pi. We'll also do a check if, actually what we'll do is have a bool here for is, what would we call this, if asterisk. Now we'll just do is multiple, that will equal false. So if I plus 1 is less than p dot length and p I plus 1 is equal to asterisk, is multiple equals true, and then we'll do I plus plus, because when we loop again we don't want it to start on the asterisk, we want it to go to the next character. Okay, so we have that. So I guess an easy thing we can do is if not is multiple and s location does not equal current, this will just be a return false, and we'll do if not is multiple and s location equals current p. This will just be s location plus plus and then continue. And now below here is, actually we should also have a check here if current p does not equal asterisk and that. Then for this one it will be if it equals or s location equals current p. Wait, no, this should have been a dot, not asterisk. If it's not multiple and current p equals dot, then it continues. But if it's not this, we'll put a parentheses here just to clearly state what it is. So if it's either dot or it equals, then we continue. So now for if it is multiple, so I guess we can just eliminate things. So we can do if is multiple. Actually, we're going to change this a bit. If not is multiple, then we will do if this, put this in here, remove the not multiple, then it's return false. So if this if statement is false, that means it is a match. So then we can just go straight to this. So then if this has happened, then it's automatically that it is multiple. So I guess we'll check to see if it's a dot asterisk and see if there are no more remaining characters, because that'd just be easiest. So if current p equals a dot and I plus 1 is greater or equal to p dot length, then this is just a true, return true. Actually, we'll change this again, so it's if I plus 1 is this, because then this will allow us to just do a check to see if all the remaining characters are of the pattern. So we'll do the same thing here of this, but now what we'll do here is for int s index equals s location, s index is less than s dot length, and s index plus plus. And what we'll do is if s index does not equal current p, then it's return false. Then down here, this means that everything has matched, so then this will be returned true. So now here is its character asterisk, and it's not the last pattern we need to look for. So we have a var next pattern equals, actually we'll just do next p equals, and we'll do the same thing here, but it'll be a +1, and we will loop until either there are no remaining strings or we find this one. So it'll be a very similar thing to this. So we've got next p. So for, I think we can just do the same thing as this. So we will loop until we find, okay, next character p. This is a bit difficult. If it's a dot, then it's not certain as to when we have to stop. Okay, we'll do if next p does not equal dot, then we'll do this. Okay, we'll do if s index equals next p, s location equals s index -1, and we'll continue. So we'll be going through matching. Okay, this part isn't working, so this will be, this will just be if it doesn't equal what we're currently looking at. So if it doesn't equal, we just continue. So if it doesn't equal, then we do a check for if s index equals s location, then it's returned false because there was not a single match that occurred. And then if that's the case, so if there was a match, then this wouldn't equal, so we go down to here and we'll do s location equals s index, and we continue. Actually, I need to check these continues because, okay, that one's fine. So for these continues, this one would just continue on this one. Okay, so if the character's not a dot, we iterate through the string. If the strings don't match, okay, we don't need this return false there. So if the strings don't match, we'll first check to see if it's doing the first check of a character. If the first characters don't match, then it's false. Otherwise, we then start from the next character and we break out of this loop. Okay, I think that's correct. Then we can go do this else now. So if it is a dot, I've just thought of cases where what I'm doing is wrong. Let's say we have a string which is like 4 8s in a row, and then the pattern is A asterisk A. The way that currently would work, the A asterisk would go to the very end, and then it will check the following A, but then there's nothing left, so the pattern wouldn't match. So we need to have checks for the multiples, where it's, if the following character is the same, we need to check for multiple instances of that character. So then we can stop, then check the rest of the pattern from there, and stop, check the rest of the pattern, which definitely makes this more annoying. Might have to do some recursion with this. So we'll iterate through this. We will do var same p equals current p equals next p. So same p. We'll have a if next p same p, and the way this will work, actually this will go underneath, because we want to make sure that a match has occurred. So if same p, if s index +1 does not equal same p, and that will be a return false. This will require a bit of playing around with, but we can do so string is s dot substring s index +1, and the pattern, I think it will be p dot substring and is I +1 +1. So if that happens, if match return true, otherwise continue. So if it is a match, then it's guaranteed that the regex does match, but if it's not a match, we'll then run it again, get to the same point, and then try again. So this code will be very similar for the dot asterisks. So I'm just going to copy this and paste below. So it's all guaranteed. If there's a dot asterisk, it's guaranteed to just match everything. So we want to just keep going until we find where the following character is the following character in the string is the following character in the pattern. So this will be if s index plus 1 equals this, and that was this part. So we do that. Var match is match s substring this, and like that, I think. So if it's a match, it returns true. It will just continue. But then if it gets to here, it will return false. I think it's time to give this a test, just so we can do some troubleshooting. So let's run it and see what happens. Okay, well of course there are semicolons I'm missing, so that was, don't know what's going on with the line numbers here, but anyway, there was that one, and here. Okay, let's run again. Line 51. Oh, right, this is meant to be next p. If, yep, they're not all code paths return a value. Okay, I should probably take a look at this. I think the default value is return true for this. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so 2 correct, 2 false. Oh yeah, I need to do some checks for the pattern and input. So this can go either way, where we're working on through the pattern, but there's no more the string left, so that'll be false. So I guess here, if s location equals, it's greater or equals to s dot length, return false. And then down here, if s location is less than or equals to s dot length, return false. Actually, this could just be return s location equals s dot length, I think. Let's try that. Okay, so that is all of them correct. Okay, so let's submit and see if it works. I doubt it will, but let's give it a shot. Ah, okay. I was treating the asterisk as if it was 1 or more, not 0 or more. I didn't think of that. Okay, so I think that's just removing this check here. Yeah, so it's 0 more, so 0 more C's is correct. 0 more A's, that is correct to there. Then a B, which is correct. Okay, so hopefully that's the only issue. So let's see. Index was outside the bounds of the array. Okay, so Mississippi. So I'd go M, I, S, asterisk. So that should go like 1, 2. I, S, asterisk, SS. This would go to here and fail. Then go dot, like this. Okay, I'm not sure where this fail would have occurred. So let's chuck it in there and see what is causing this. Actually, I'm just going to open up Notepad and have it written here just so I can clearly see. And we will go line by line. So we start up here. This is all good. Current P is M. It's not multiple, so it's okay. So if I plus 1 is less than P length. If I plus 1 is less than P dot length. Yeah, that should be fine. If it is, then it's P like that. Yep, it's fine. If I plus 1 is greater than or equal to P dot length. So this is assuming that it is multiple, and that's fine. We'll go to here. Okay, I think the issue is here. So if s index plus 1 is less than s dot length, and that, I think that was the issue causing it. So this is the only place I can see where, okay, we'll have to do the same thing there as well. So we're doing a plus 1, but we're not checking to see if it's still inside. Okay, let's see if that's run. We'll run that and see if that's all good. Okay, this time it passed. Awesome. So let's submit. Now, hopefully that's the only issue remaining. Okay, I gave the same thing. Isn't that the same one we had before? Copy this and put it here. So it's missed. Okay, interesting. It's just missing the I. So this was supposed to be true, but it returned false, which definitely makes sense, because that is correct. But let's put it back into here and try to figure out what's wrong. Okay, so let's go line by line. So current character is M. Plus 1 is not asterisk. If it's not multiple, if it doesn't equal dot, and doesn't this? Nope, M's match. I feel like it's possible I've forgotten to do this S location somewhere. I wish you could tell me which line it was where it returned false. Okay, I think we need to do it here, like this. So if it doesn't match, it returns true. Oh no, we're doing that. This should be here, I think. So it's possible it's a match. No, I'm going to remove this, just run the test, just verify that it's still false. Then we will put this back in and see if that does anything. Okay, that wasn't it. Okay, it's right here where it needs to be done. S location plus plus. Let's run that case. Okay, still returning false. Okay, so based on this line will run, this will run, and this will run. So this else statement does not run at all because there's no dot asterisk. So if I plus 1, right, let's check and see if it's multiple. So if it's not multiple, if it's not a dot, and the values strings don't match, it's false. which makes sense. We then continue with this main for loop, which is correct. Yeah. Okay, so we've already increased I because there's an asterisk, and we're saying it's multiple, which is fine. Then we're doing another check to see if plus 1 is greater than or equal to p.length, because if it is greater, then the remaining matching is just the character match. So if it equals, okay, so this one isn't needed, it's just return true. But for here, for int like that, s index, s location, s index is less, yep. So if it doesn't equal, then it's false, because it's a dot asterisk, or character asterisk. Okay, this should be all good. I wonder what happens if I just remove this dot. So that should return false. Okay, it did return false, as expected. So let's mess around a bit more with this. Dot, we'll remove this p asterisk, let's see what that does. And we'll just get rid of these other cases. Just have this one. So that correctly found it to be wrong. So we'll run it with the original pattern. Okay, so the issue, it returns false when it shouldn't. So I guess one thing we can do is go through this pattern, do dot asterisk, and then we can hopefully figure out whereabouts in here it is that it causes it to go false. So we'll do that. We'll start up here and try that. So this will probably return false, as it already is returning false, but just see. Yep, so return false when it should return true. So we'll now remove p asterisk, and then if it returns true now, we know it has to do with character asterisk where it's failing. Oh, so I ended up having some problems with LeetCode where I was getting rate limiting issues. So took a break for a couple of hours and edited all the previous parts of the video. So we'll go back to where we were, where we're trying removing parts of the pattern and doing dot asterisk to see where it fails. So let's run this and see if it works. So I thought this would have been pretty quick for me to do, but it turned out when I fixed one problem, a new case came up which I had to fix, which then led to a new case needing to be fixed, and then a new case needing to be fixed, and then finding out a fix I did broke previous cases, and kind of got to the point where I just couldn't be bothered. This footage is 3 hours, and it's sped up to 10,000% speed. So I ended up just using the code that I had and entering that into ChatGPT, giving it some prompts as to what it is I'm trying to do, and telling it, okay, here are the string and the pattern. It's returning false when it should be returning true, and I wanted it to just give me what I needed to change to do it. So I did that, and I ended up coming up with a solution, which you'll see in a bit when this speed up time is over. So yeah, carry on watching and it will eventually get to a point where it's back to normal. So I thought I would give putting my previous code into ChatGPT a shot to see whether it could improve it and fix things, and based on the input I had and changes I made, this is what it's produced, and it has gotten all the cases correct. So let's go over the code it produced before we submit. So I think the biggest problem I had was that I was doing a for loop instead of having just 2 pointers for the locations in the string and the pattern, because having it as a for loop forced it to be more incremental than what the solution should be. So basically this code will run as long as the string pointer is within the string. So every time it runs, it checks to see whether we've reached the end of the pattern. And if we've reached the end of the pattern, it will then return whether we've also reached the end of the string. So the first thing it checks to do is to see whether it has the asterisk ahead of it. So if the current p location plus 1, if that's less than length, and that position in the pattern is an asterisk, then it is, well, character asterisk. So if we do that, we then grab the current character we're using, we then increase our pointer by 2, and then we just iterate through the string to see if there's matches. So you start off with s location is less than the length, and if the location equals c, or the c is a dot, which in that case it will always run. So it's kind of same as before, it will just continuously run the isMatch, and if isMatch returns true, that's true. But in this case, if it's false here, it'll then increment S location and it will rerun it. While what I had before was just using for loops, which wasn't the best for how it's meant to be done. So if it's not an asterisk, we go to the else here. So it's basically just performing a check to see if all the false conditions are true. So if S location equals S length, then false. If the character in S does not equal the character in P, then it's false. And if P does not equal dot, then it's also false. So return that. So if all of these are false, then that means a single character is true, which then means we increment the pointers for S location and P location, so then it goes back up and it runs again. So this solution from ChatGPT was pretty straightforward. I definitely overcomplicated mine, as when I was working on it, I continuously would miss certain cases for when what I had written would be false. So then I was kind of just stacking things on top of each other, which made it more complicated and more complex and wrong, essentially. So from what I had before, to make it correct, I would have to change all of it. So by putting my previous code into ChatGPT and feeding it information to make it more correct, we've got this, and it has got all the cases accepted. So let's run it and see if we're finally done. Okay, interesting. We've got time limit exceeded. So I assume that's probably because of the while loops and this. Because with all of these, it's probably going to be running it one after the other. And also, so if we start here, it will run again. So it'll be running all those times, and it will also be doing plus plus, so that'll be running all those times until we've reached the end of the string. Okay, so I guess let's get started with trying to figure out how to solve this one. So my first thought from looking at this is when we go to run this, we check to see if so if on this one, A asterisk, we check to see if the following one is also A asterisk. If it is, then we skip that, go to the next one, skip that, and so on. So if we do this, so yep, this is asterisk, so do P location like that, and then we can do while C equals P location, and actually we'll need to change this, so P location plus 2 is less than P dot length, and C equals P location and P location. Actually no, we just need to do a plus 1 there. Plus 1 equals asterisk. Then it'll be P location plus equals 2. So hopefully that will skip all of these and then run. So let's try that. Okay, cool. It is finally done. Although I had to get ChatGPT to do majority of it for me, as I completely messed around with my original implementation. At least some of my code was actually in it. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.